Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate that immensely. I also love it when people leave comments, so if you have a thought about the video, or if you have some constructive criticism, or an idea for a video, or you have questions, or you just want to say hi, those are all great things. This one I'm also going to ask you to vote on something, because I'm going to do 3 different types of prong settings for a stone, and then I'm going to let you guys vote and decide what I'm going to make it into. So I've done that a couple of times now, and that seems like a popular format, so let's do another one, this one with different kinds of prong settings. I've never made any of these actually, so I sketched up some designs for some. We'll see how they work out, and I'll let you choose. So I picked out a 10 by 8 pretty oval peridot faceted stone, and we'll give it a try. Before we do, though, I wanted to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I think they're just amazing, so thank you for your support. I have 2 new ones, S. Crace and Mary Alice E. Thank you for signing up. I really appreciate your support. I think that you'll find, just like I have, that it's a great group of people over there who are super friendly and full of important and useful knowledge. So thank you for signing up. Thank you to my previous patrons. You guys rock. And I'd also like to thank my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 19,400. That's amazing, and I appreciate it. Obviously, without my YouTube crowd, I couldn't be doing this, so thank you for your support. I love the nice comments that I get, and it's really moving sometimes when people tell me that they're getting so much from these. So thanks for that. Thank you also for the super thanks and the buy me coffees. Those things really help support my channel, and I do appreciate that as the cost of materials has gone up significantly. So. All right, well, let's get started on these 3 different prong settings. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks that you can get on my merch store. I find them super useful for sketching up my ideas. Not only does it have this nice graph pattern in the background to help me with my drawing skills, which are sort of mediocre, it gives me a place to keep a record of all my pieces. This is today's project. Oh, and the newer ones that I have miscellaneous charts on the back that are useful. This particular one has fractions of an inch to decimals to millimeters, which I find super handy, as I use mostly the metric system anymore, and I wasn't raised using the metric system. So there's another one that has American wire gauge to inches to millimeters as well, and I think that might be useful to some people overseas. So, all right, let me show you my stone. It's over here somewhere, maybe. There you are. It's a pretty good sized peridot. It's about a 8 by 10, almost a 9 by 11. It might even be an 8.5 by 10.5. So it's got some nice fire to it, and it's a nice symmetrical cut, so I like it. And we're going to make three different styles of setting here. And like I said, I've not done any of these exactly, so I'm going to kind of be flying the plane while I'm building it. I'm going to take some 16 gauge round wire and make a cross, and I think I'm not going to make it a perfect 90-degree cross since it's an oval stone. If it was a round stone, I probably would do it this way, and I'm probably going to cut these a little bit shorter than I made these because I was just kind of sketching out my idea. But I want to be able to bend this up into kind of a, you know, a V shape like this. And here's my thought. See if I can grab that. This is an example of what I want to do. It looks like a little golf club, kind of, but I balled up the end by melting the end of the wire, and then I held it on the edge of my bench block and I pounded it flat with my chasing hammer, so I got kind of a flattened oval tab on the top. And I think that'll make for a good prong that'll go over the stone. So we'll have, I think I'm going to do 4 prongs on this one. I suppose you could do more if you wanted to, but this will be going right like that. So we'll give that one a try first. I'm probably going to put a ring around the outside once I get it to where I want it to be distance-wise and shape-wise. We'll see though. Like I said, I haven't done this one before. The next one is going to be kind of like this, although smaller, because I did a prototype out of 26 gauge just to see how it would look. And a couple of observations that I made when I was doing that prototype was this was definitely too big, and I was kind of estimating based on the stone. So I shortened it down a little bit so it's a little bit smaller, and I didn't have these circles scribed in quite as deeply on the other one, and so I want these to be kind of narrow, and this is going to be where the prongs are going to be, right here, 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 and here. And I'm going to cut an oval out of the middle. So we'll saw that out, and then we'll dap it using a dapping block and some dapping punches to kind of curve it upwards. We may do some manual shaping too, but we'll see. And then once we get it into the right configuration, I should be able to cut some seats for the girdle of the stone, which is the widest part. And that way you'll be able to set that stone like that. At least that is my hope. I guess we'll find out. And finally, let's see, did I put it in here? Yes. This one I think will be kind of classy and cool. I've made a lot of different prong settings that kind of do this curve this way so they flare outwards. I've never done one where I did little teardrops like this, nor have I ever done one that had little balls like that. So we're going to try doing that. I'm going to make 5 or 6 of these. I don't know exactly how many is going to fit in here. I'm going to try and get 6. I measured the circumference of the stone, and that came out to be about 30 millimeters, and that's this top line here. The underside, I just tapered it down like this and made it smaller down here, but kept the same kind of curve going, and we'll use that as a guide. So I believe I will probably let's see, I'm either going to solder it to a piece of wire down here, or I may just solder it to itself and then make it into an oval, and we'll see. I'm not sure yet. So we'll play it by ear and do our best. So let's start with this one, and I think the first step will be to cut some pieces of 16 gauge round wire, which I have right here. And I'm going to cut them a little bit longer than this, and then we'll snip them off to the right length after we melt the little ends on them. If you've not been to my channel before, I use hard silver sheet solder for almost everything. I use a liquid flux that I dribble on with the dropper bottle. My torch is a Silversmith model. It's their acetylene air torch, and it draws in atmospheric air to mix with the acetylene gas. It produces a nice heat and a nice flame for silver working. And the #1 tip is the primary tip that I use. Somebody's asking me what size tips I use the other day, and I think I have a #2 around somewhere, but I haven't seen it in a couple of years, so I don't know. I know I have a 3 because I use that for melting things sometimes. All right, so let's ball up the ends on these. I'm going to have to go ball up that first one and get as good a ball on that one. Reball it. So I think I'm going to cut them about, kind of estimating based on where I think these are going to end up as far as the top of them. But I think we'll have a little bit of play, so let's try this. You know, if I cut them too short, this wasn't too hard to make these, so I can always go back and redo them. One of the things I find is, rather than getting too upset when I make a mistake, I try and learn from it. It's when I usually learn the most, is when I make a boo-boo. Okay, I'm going to file those out flat. Or at least on 2 of them. And the other 2 I'm going to file at an angle a little bit, since I'm going to make it more of an X than a cross, like that. So let's solder these 2 together first. I didn't do it just in one piece because I didn't know how long I was going to make it. In the future, if I figure out a formula, I could do that. But I do something called pick soldering, where I pick up a little bit of solder on the end of my titanium soldering pick here, and then it allows me to place it where I want it to go. It's a really useful skill, so if you're interested, I'll put a link up here for a video that I have about it. It's one of those things that makes it so much easier for me, anyway, to get stuff where I want it to go. Now, I shouldn't have put those up there. I probably got a little warm from that. I'm just going to give them just a little bit of a slight edge. One thing you can do when you got something that wants to roll around on you is you can bend it slightly like that. That way, it's less likely to roll around. You can always straighten it out later. Chances are there's enough solder there, but I may pick up a little more on my soldering pick and apply it if need be. Now it looks like a chromosome. Call this a chromosome setting. Now, what I want to do is I want to flatten these ends out a little bit. So, I'll find my chasing hammer. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to file a notch right in the middle here so I can bend it more easily. And let's do that with a bastard file. We're going to use the corner of it like that. I think that's within spitting distance, to use an old idiom. That's close enough to where I can finagle it when I get to that stage. So I'm going to make a little kind of oval loop. It's going to solder this into place. So let's make a circle and then we'll elongate it. Should I just use? I might just use 18 gauge for that. Doesn't have to be super thick. That's pretty good. I'm going to grab a magnesia block. I can push this in a little bit. That looks pretty good. Make sure I have some solder over here still. I think with a little adjustment that'll work out just fine. Of course, when we get ready to set the stone, if we choose this one, and don't forget to vote, I'll be cutting some seats in there with probably a ball burr so that it sits nice and flat and has a place for that girdle to sit. But I think that'll be a cool looking one. And I think probably I would just cut off the bottom pieces after this was all put together. So it's just the ring with those prongs sticking out. So let's try the sheet one. We'll set that one in the pickle for a while. And for the sheet one, we're just going to have to start by going over there and cutting out some half circles here with the saw. So let's go over to the sawing area. I'm also going to drill a hole through the center there, and then we'll kind of widen it out with the saw. So I'll be right back. Okay, let's start with one of these sides here. I have a number 00 on here. Okay, I'm going to clean that up with the Dremel, like I said, with some rotary abrasive white wheels and maybe a ball burr for the middle. So I'll be right back. So we got our shape cut out a little bit. Let's see what dapping does to it. That's going to go like that. Keep knocking it over. Put it down in there, and then I'll cut those tops off some. But I think that'll work just fine, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe just file these down. So okay, I think what I'm going to do to figure out where the seats are going to have to be cut on this one, mark them black on the inside with a marker. Let me find a T-pin. Ow. I'm always stabbing myself with something. There you are. So we use... That was a pretty good height, I think. So I think what I'll do is I will take my little dividers. Try and get them to be that same depth. Yeah, that's pretty close. And I'll just do that on all of these. And that'll let me cut a little seat for the stone there. And I'll likely straighten up these prongs too, so they don't have bulges at the end, or at least if they do, I'm going to make them the same. But I think I'll probably just make them rectangular. So I'm going to go cut those seats with a ball burr just by very carefully cutting a slot along there about halfway through. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what the result is, and then we can work on the third one. So that fits in there pretty nicely. It looks like it's pretty straight. So I think that one's good. I may do a little bit of cleanup more to get the shapes perfect, but it's very kind of Bauhaus-y maybe, with the kind of shapes and the curves, the half circles. I don't know. I like it so far. So that's number 2. So if you like that one, vote for number 2. But yeah, I just cut a little trenches on the inside with a ball burr like that for the girdle of the stone to sit in. You just got to be careful not to cut too deep. Okay. All right, let's do the third one. For this one, I was initially going to do 16 gauge for this wire, but it was just a little bit too thick. So I think, let's figure out about how long these need to be. The one that I did initially, I think, was a little short. So I'm going to try and make them slightly longer than that. Like that, maybe? Let's do that. That gives us a little more leeway. But I'm going to use this first one I cut as a template. So I'm going to straighten it back out so I can measure it. And I'll cut 6 or 7 more of these. It's never a bad idea to, if you're doing multiple things of the same thing, to cut some extras in case you mess up. That way you don't have to figure out how long it was originally. You have one you can use to measure it against. I apologize if I'm a little congested today. I've been really had bad allergies the past few weeks. Okay. I believe I'm going to go ahead and solder the ends closed here, and then we'll make some little silver balls to fit right in the bottom of those. So I think let's make some little silver balls. Oops. Had a volunteer decide to merge. I have to cut a few more. This one's going to be twice as big. So we'll set him over here. I think I probably have enough solder on the pad, so let's flux those and solder those in. Let those cool for a minute. I'm going to try and find a little bit of flattened 14 gauge. So there's that flattened piece of square wire. I actually bent it into a curve here so that it would match this a little bit. Probably should bend it a little bit more, but I think we're probably good. This reminds me a little of this kiwi pennant that I made quite a while ago. Little balls and shapes. If you're interested in seeing that video, that's a cool pendant. I actually put it on the cover of my first ebook. That's about right. So I think we'll try and solder that on there like that. And I want to get it soldered to this on the bottom, but I also want to get them soldered to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer them over to my soldering pad, and we'll see if we can do that. I believe we got them all. Let's cool that off and see how it looks. Okay, I'm going to use a jump ring mandrel here. I'll bend this around this way. I got them pushed together, kind of. Stick it in there so nothing moves too much. And then I'm going to pick solder it right there and there. Let's see how it goes. I think that's going to be okay. Let me find oval bracelet mandrel too. And that might help us to get this shaped around that a little bit. One thing I notice is that I don't have a hole down at the bottom here, so I'll probably take a small drill bit and drill a hole there just to make that match. And the other thing is I'm going to have to file this flat on the bottom again. Wow, that's going to be super pretty. That's number 3. So I'm going to get those all cleaned up nice and shined up a bit, and then I'll show you the final result. I'm also, like I said, I'm going to drill a little hole there so these are a little more consistent. And then we'll be done. So I may like that one the best. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I have these done. So we can have this one looks. And I'll take a better picture at the end here. So there's that one. Well, I'll get it in there straight when it's done. There's this one. Kind of like that. That'd be number 2. So that one's definitely the most ornate looking. So got those 3 different ones. That one, that one, and that one, and that one. Okay, well, I will get some pictures of those and put them at the end. Don't forget to vote. All right, well, that was 3 different prong settings. We'll call the one with the flattened bald ends, that's number 1. The second one will be the sheet prong setting, and the third one will be the teardrop prong setting. So 1, 2, or 3. I'd love it if you'd leave your vote for which one I should make something out of, and even maybe what kind of a piece I should make out of it. And I'll tally that up in a couple of weeks, and I'll make something and post it on my community page. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button before you go. And I'd love it if you go back and check out my main channel page. I have 450 plus videos. I do 3 per week, 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Thursday, and 1 on Saturday, so there's a ton of content over there. There's almost certainly something else you'll find that's useful or interesting, so check them out. Subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the video description down below. There's some important links there. You can get my ebook if you want to check out a whole bunch of projects all in one place. It's a valuable resource with lots of information, and a great way to support my channel. Another thing you can find is a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea notebooks. I find those invaluable anymore. They help me to keep track of all my projects, and if I ever want to revisit them again, I have a set of instructions just right there. Finally, check out my Patreon. There's a link to my Patreon, and it's a nice community. There's multiple tiers of membership down there, the lowest tier being $5 a month, and that one gets you all of my videos with no advertisements, unlike on YouTube here. So if you move up levels, you start getting extra videos and things, so some other perks. Come back again sometime. Thanks for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.